With his reputation fully intact, Terry Griffiths opened a new era in community justice in Wyong. The new complex replaces the 75-year-old former Wyong court, where people had to queue on the street before having matters dealt with.
You don't want to see every time on a Monday morning you come past the courthouse to know the problems that your neighbours have had over the weekend. That's their business, not yours. And that's why we need this degree of confidentiality, this degree of privacy.
The functionally designed complex features 2 courts, cells and a central control post equipped with security monitors. About 15 people will be employed in the $5 million building. Official guests inspected the complex, which will see up to 4,000 matters dealt with each year. And yes, it's true, Justice Minister Lay, who opened the old courthouse in 1929, was later tried and convicted of murder in England.
Look out, it's the Lego Monaco. 250 carts careering around Tamworth's industrial area. No shortage of stacks during today's trials. Luckily, no one was seriously hurt. Sydney drivers dominated the heats. Formula A driver Ben Horseman heads his division. David Bresnard leads the junior clubman, while king of the clubman lights at the moment is Paul Wilson. The outsiders didn't get it all their own way. Tamworth's own Eric Barnes getting the job done in the Clubman Heavy division. In the 250cc gearbox class, South Australian David McHugh is out in front. Plenty more go-kart Grand Prix action to come tomorrow, including the alleged celebrity race. Should be good for a laugh.
The rail line at the Civic is a constant source of frustration for motorists. It's also set to become an increasing headache for the ALP aldermen in Newcastle City Council. Tomorrow night, 2 planning services reports about the Honeysuckle project and a Newcastle Central area strategy come before council. Both reports support cutting the rail link at the Civic. According to Green Alderman John Sutton, if the 6 ALP representatives go along with that recommendation, they're going against their own party's election policy of last year to keep the line open to Newcastle.
I'll read it word for word from the ALP policy document. It says to support the retention with redesign and landscaping of the rail link to Newcastle Station. Now, I think that's a fairly explicit commitment that they gave.
Labor's state member for Newcastle, Bryce Gaudry, agrees that to vote for anything but retaining the rail line to Newcastle would be contravening ALP policy. The Lord Mayor thinks otherwise.
No, I don't see it as that at all. We were talking about a transport system for the Lower Hunter.
Alderman McNaughton believes it's the overall transport study that council should be addressing.
I think we're talking about tails wagging dogs here. We're talking about the last 100 metres, or a bit more than that, 300 metres of rail on the total transport system of the Lower Hunter. And we know what we're doing, particularly with the light rail. It's a very exciting prospect.
But the proposed light rail system for Newcastle has come under the scrutiny of the Minister for Transport, Bruce Baird. In a letter to the council, Mr Baird has indicated he's asked for more information about the private proposal, saying in its current form there are a number of apparent shortcomings. They include questions about financing costs, fleet replacement over time and cash flow profile, as well as apparent overestimation of patronage and therefore revenue. Alderman Sutton says the light rail option should be left out of the debate about where the rail line is to end.
It is a long-term option. It shouldn't be dragged as a very smelly red herring across these railway tracks, which are what we want to preserve.
Coal has been shipped from the Catherine Hill Bay jetty since 1888. Before the coal from the company's 3 coastal mines is exported, it's washed and prepared at this plant. About 2 million tonnes of coal goes through the preparation plant every year. Coal and Allied has just spent millions upgrading the facility to double the output.
It enables more coal to be sold that perhaps previously was unsaleable. So that's the second aspect of it, that it improves the productivity, if you like, of the mines.
Executives from its joint venture partner, Ube Industries, attended the opening today. Chief Executive Officer Tony Haraldson says Coal and Allied wants to expand its markets.
We're looking to expand the markets to beyond those companies because there are limits to what they can take. And we're looking to try and expand into power station markets as well. The Ube
Soil runoff and erosion can increase by 100% when a little rain is combined with earth moving and land clearing projects. Topsoil finds its way into the watercourse and eventually the lake as silt. Following stringent controls set in the ACT, the Lake Council, in cooperation with the Soil Conservation Service, has produced a field guide for those who turn the soil for a house block, subdivision or large-scale development. It offers pointers that could become prerequisites.
We're looking at tightening up our controls on all development sites. Gradually that's happened over the last 2 or 3, 5 years. We now require erosion and sediment control plans for larger developments, and it looks like we'll be moving, with legislation changes to requiring that kind of control even on small development sites like houses.
Available from Council, the guide offers practical advice on building holding walls and channels, silt dams and runoff filters, as well as the reseeding of loose earth. It's made of tough, durable materials to withstand almost anything a building site can dish out. Andrew Lobb for NBN News.
The Central Area Strategy is the Council's blueprint for shaping the way the inner city will look and function in years to come. The strategy was endorsed by 7 votes to 5, its most controversial component, cutting Newcastle's rail line at Civic. A necessary action, says the Lord Mayor, if the strategy in its entirety is to go ahead.
State government has said its option is to withdraw the railway to the Civic, and that's the strategy that's been used in this overall plan.
So when will work on the line start? The Lord Mayor doesn't expect any visible signs during the current term of Parliament, which theoretically expires next year.
If there's a change in government, we will go back as a Labor government to the policy which we went to the last local government election with.
In the meantime, Council is working on implementing other parts of the strategy. One component is to consolidate commercial and retail business in core precincts around King Street and the Civic Centre. Another focus is improved access to the inner city through a better roads network. Part of this involves the extension of Derby Street through to Wharf Road. But again, this will depend on if and when the railway line is terminated at the Civic. The rail line issue could also affect the Honeysuckle project, which also gained council support last night. The Lord Mayor wants to see Honeysuckle up and running within 12 months. Last night, council formed a committee to help expedite this.
Through that committee, we will have a much better opportunity of cooperating with the Honeysuckle people and seeing that the project starts.
Buddy Guy's latest album, Damn Right I Got the Blues, earned him a Grammy. Word has spread. It's his first visit to Newcastle, and today he was autographing guitars. He reckons it's his job to keep the word spreading in honour of the bluesman who nurtured him.
I won the Grammy with the album, and I'm sure there would be some smiles on their face because I never did see them come up there and win a Grammy like that, because once they didn't even give and mention blues on the awards. So there's not many of us left now, and I just want to see can I do the best that I can and try and carry this heavy load that they left on my shoulder, which they told me to do that anyway, a lot of them before they passed away.
Of course, some people say only black people can really play the blues.
I might agree with them if I had 6 fingers and they didn't have but 5, then I would say, yeah, I do have a little advantage. But I got 5 fingers, I learned.
Buddy is performing tonight. He has a message for Newcastle.
If you don't like the blues, never heard the blues, never seen the blues, don't come see me, because I intend to make you like it.
Evidence of the terrible impact showed on a small sedan. The man had been crossing Main Road 217 in a 90km/h zone near the Toronto Golf Club when he was hit by the southbound car. He was carried along with the car as it skidded to a halt, but then fell to the ground and was trapped under the wheels. Rescuers lifted the vehicle off the man's body. Ambulance officers treated the man for multiple head, leg and internal injuries before he was flown to the John Hunter Hospital. A witness to the accident was hospitalised with shock. The driver of the car received minor abrasions and is not expected to be charged.
The deputy of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party had just finished speaking when a brazen gunman opened fire from the front row. But he missed his intended victim, hitting the podium with 3 shots before he was overpowered by security guards. No one was injured in the incident. The would-be assassin is a member of the right-wing group. Nearly 100 cars, trucks and buses have been involved in a highway pile-up in Southern California. 1 person was killed and more than 45 injured, 11 seriously. It happened in thick fog on a winding section of the interstate highway which links Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Police say visibility was down to 7 metres at the time of the accident.
The season kicks off on April 18th. This weekend, a round-robin competition, a chance for teams to experiment and iron out any problems. Well, West Tamworth ironed out the opposition as well. In the first grade final, West turned on a powerhouse display, disposing of Narrabri. The final score, 22-6. Werris Creek tasted victory in the lower grades. In the under-17s, Werris Creek 16, North Tamworth 12, while Tamworth City copped a hiding in the 19s, Werris Creek running away with it, 22-0. With top seed Roger Rashid put out of the tournament yesterday, it came down to a state of origin battle between Frawley and New South Welshman Grant Doyle. And the Queenslander was in fine form, never allowing Doyle to find his game. Frawley took less than an hour and a half to dispose of his rival 6-1, 6-1, and he pocketed $2,000 for his trouble. Coffs Harbour's own Cynthia Durner took out the women's title, beating Danielle Thomas from the Gold Coast 7-6, 6-4.
The wind hit with a blast just after 9 o'clock, bringing down backyard fences and sending sheets of metal flying.
Flying, about 100 metres across the road and hit the front of the house.
Tiles lifted and rain poured into homes, but SES personnel saved serious property damage. Near Port Stephens, the Tea Gardens ambulance station was struck by lightning, which blacked out communications. Emergency services have been kept busy on the roads. At Pelorme, near Curry, 2 people were hospitalised after their car left the road and hit a tree. According to weather stations, we've had almost a month's average of rain in the past 24 hours, and it looks as if there'll be more to come.
An impressive lineup, 6 members of the state training squad and 1 Olympian. That man, Pat Murray from the St Ives Club. He holds gold and silver from the Commonwealth Games. Today's comp part of his training for Barcelona. Not surprisingly, he won the rapid fire event. Other success stories, Armidale's Trevor Schofield. He made national squad, shooting a master grade score in the centre fire. Local Deadeye Dick, Kel Vickers, won that event. He too has a berth in the Aussie team.
Five years ago, Lynn Molan's 15-year-old son Luke was killed in a truck accident. Soon afterwards, she joined an organisation called Compassionate Friends. It's a national self-help group which was established to provide support for parents whose children have died. This weekend, more than 80 members took part in a 2-day conference. A panel of professionals, including a priest, a journalist and healthcare workers, heard first-hand suggestions about how to ease the suffering of grieving parents.
Parents are not aware of the things that they are allowed to ask for. They're in such a state of shock and disbelief.
A 21-year-old fell 8 metres onto rocks after a rope swing gave way. The fall fractured the man's leg. A companion raised the alarm and rescuers negotiated difficult terrain to lower a stretcher to the injured man. He was taken to the John Hunter Hospital.
For 6 hours yesterday, German tunes and beer fumes emulated from the Armidale Jockey Club.
Well, yeah, and I guess a lot of the oldies of the Armidale Jockey Club, thinking back through the years, could never imagine a beer festival being held at the Armidale track, the sacred track.
The 500 guests who attended throughout the day were treated to a melody of music. First German style, then, to remind everyone exactly where they were, some good old country and western. While some indulged in toe tapping, the bar was kept busy filling complimentary beer steins. All in all, the music and beer made for good times, plenty of toasts and probably some tall tales. From initial indications, organisers expect the Beer Fest to become an annual draw card. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
The 1989 earthquake rocked the foundations of a 130-year-old tradition. The suburb and the school known as the Junction, which had seen thousands of pupils pass through its doors, would never be the same again. Students returning after the summer break filed past the shattered landmarks of the neighbourhood to take up class in hastily located portable classrooms. Playgrounds became demolition and construction sites, and tragically, a demolition worker died when part of the ruined school collapsed.
We would hope that the circumstances that have given rise to this magnificent construction, we hope that it hadn't ever happened.
$3.6 million on, the junction now has 10 new classrooms, a library and administration wing offering its 440 students the latest in educational facilities. Where possible, the old has been integrated with the new. The original 1875 school building is being refurbished as a multi-purpose hall. But other traditions may still be in jeopardy. According to some, the school's motto, "Manners maketh man," should also be consigned to history.
My personal view is that the school motto falls a little bit short in explaining to people and to students exactly what the school is on about.
With a new look lineup, the Falcons are quickly getting rid of the easy beat tag they have carried for the past couple of seasons, and this year's well-deserved third in the Kmart Classic has served notice to the NBL that the Falcons are ready and willing to make an assault on this year's championship. And aiding that newfound confidence is an excellent team effort.
One night's going to be one person's night, the next night's going to be another person's night, and that's the great thing about a great team. If you can get everybody to score, contribute, it's hard to stop them.
Ironically, the Falcons' first NBL match of the year is against the Gold Coast Rollers, Classic champions after Saturday's great win over the Melbourne Magic.
I think we're going to be psyched up because we've seen them play, we've seen them win the championship in the Kmart Classic, so I think we'll be definitely ready for them. We won't sleep on them, definitely.
On Friday night, Sydney Olympic handed out a 4-1 football lesson to the BHP Breakers in the last home game of the year. But a loss such as this hasn't disheartened the camp by any means.
The game is all about learning from your mistakes, about learning from quality players, and we learnt on both parts on Friday. They've got some very good players. They knew when and how to play the ball, when to keep it simple, when to try and complicate things a wee bit, and we've learnt from that, and hopefully we will be better for it.
And a fitting finale for the Breakers in their debut season, a super crowd to see them off.
6,700 in the last game, to me, was a way of them saying to us, come back bigger and better next year and we'll support you more.
More than 80 drivers will take to the track with the sole purpose of demolishing the opposition in their quest for the $10,000 first prize in the Big Bash Demo Derby. There's very few rules, and absolute mayhem is assured as the cars deliberately smash into each other, hoping to be the last one running to collect the cash. An added incentive, $500 for the best demolisher. Adding a real flavour to the night will be the Hunter Valley Modified Rod Championship. A big weekend for the Raymond Terrace and Port Stephens Cricket Club, both domiciled in Raymond Terrace. Out of 9 teams entered by the two clubs, no less than 8 have made the grand finals, with Raymond Terrace in every district grade from 1st to 5th and Port Stephens grand finalists in B2s, C2s and C4s. Let's hope they get on the paddock. And because of the wet weather, some changes. The Hunter Academy of Sport Cricket Clinic is often until next weekend, and there has been plenty of changes to this weekend's round of the MMI Newcastle Rugby League pre-season competition, with matches set down for Saturday, Sunday and also Monday. Wallsend's Kevin Franklin has won his 5th Greater Newcastle Masters Singles Bowls title with a thrilling 31-28 win over Charlestown's George Dawes at the Lowlands Bowling Club today. Franklin led for most of the day before Dawes hit back to lead late in the match. Down 3 shots on the penultimate end, Franklin drew the shot and on the last end scored the only 4 of the match to snatch victory. This time 12 months ago, the Knights and Penrith turned on a brilliant exhibition of football, Kemp on fire out wide. And Fittler combining with Alexander for a beauty. But history will show the 18-all draw was as close as the teams would get in 1991, Penrith the champions, and the Newcastle Knights finishing 13th. And the Knights have started this season with another draw, this time against an Illawarra outfit that's a vastly improved team. but the signs are there that the Knights themselves can and will attack. And strongman Tony Butterfield will make his long-awaited return in reserve grade on Sunday against his old club.
Clear skies around Bullaroo today as clouds of smoke settled following yesterday's explosion. Around 7 a.m, a blowout in the bottom section of a furnace caused one wall to collapse and discharge oxides. A Pasminco spokesman said the fumes weren't toxic and no one was injured. Repair work was due to finish at 6 tonight, with the furnace operational a few hours later. According to Mr Alan Krapp from the Environmental Protection Authority, EPA officers investigating what caused yesterday's incident will visit Pasminco on Monday. Officers will examine records and interview management and supervisors on duty at the time of the explosion. If it's found it was caused by a lack of maintenance to or negligent operation of equipment, plus the environment has been harmed in some way, Pasminco could be fined up to $1 million. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Araring Power Station celebrated 10 years of operations today, opening its gates to more than 1,000 visitors. There was a glimpse of things to come with the latest electronic conversion cars and the Dutch Kiewit. It has a range of 80 kilometres between charges and a top speed of 85 kilometres an hour. The head turner of the show, it has the support of adventurer and organiser of the Solar Energy Challenge rallies, Hans Thorstrop.
I've always thought that everybody should be an adventurer. Now, of course, I believe everybody should be a futurist.
The cars are in production in the Netherlands and for about $8,000 offer cost and energy savings.
This power station can run about 500,000 electric cars without adding to plant and equipment. That means the Australian taxpayers can have a return if we all use Australian fuel, Australian labour, and then we build some electric cars. And then we have that added bonus, which is that the electric car is the quiet solution to local pollution.
On a smaller scale, but packing 40 to 50,000 RPM motors, more than 70 electric remote control off-road racers from around the state took to a rugged course at the Newcastle Velodrome. New South Wales remote control car clubs boast 3,500 members. A competition buggy costs about $2,000 and hits speeds of up to 45 kilometres an hour. The day marks Greece's declaration of independence in a long and bloody history of struggle, war and revolution against the Turks. They declared freedom in 1822, but the two nations continued warring into the 1900s. Wreaths were laid today at the Greek community cenotaph in Hamilton. More than 2 years after the quake that shook the city from its foundations to its steeples, the St Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Newcastle celebrated the completion of restorations. The century-old building suffered major damage in the quake when parts of its spire crashed through the roof. The restoration required the combination of traditional stone masonry skills and modern building materials and techniques. To begin with, there were between 500 and 600 eager volunteers on the work site at any time. The construction of the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall is the latest in a series of 51 quick builds for the church around the country. The framework for the brick and tile building went up on Friday. The first service in the freshly painted and carpeted building was to be held this afternoon. An army of spirited volunteers and tradespeople from around the state chipped in with labour and materials.